Good day, everyone, especially to you, ma'am. I'm Criscia Autentico, and today I'm going to discuss to you the Chapter 14 of Philippine Tourism Laws, which is the Insurance Law. But before that, let me read you this first. There are products that satisfy the protection and investment needs of the market. It is according to Estelito Madrid Jr., CEO of Pru Life UK Philippines. Our topic outlined in this chapter is first is definition and concept, second is insurance interest, third is beneficiaries, fourth is fire, marine, and third party liability insurance, fifth is fire insurance, sixth is compulsory motor vehicle liability insurance, and lastly is the war risk insurance. And by the end of this chapter, our learning objectives are enumerate items that can be insured by tourism establishments. Second is identify the rationale behind the concept of insurance. Next is to explain the different kinds of insurance. And lastly is identify the advantage and the disadvantage of having insurance. Insurance is very useful for companies engaged in the tourism industry because there are many kinds of risks in enterprises where investment oftentimes is quite substantial. By way of example, an employer may subscribe to a group insurance of his employees as part of its employee benefit program. Companies utilizing building structures for the operation of their hotels, restaurants, and other tourism-related establishments may think of investment or investing in property insurance against fire or earthquake to protect their investments. And lastly, an investment is a marine insurance. The usual practice among companies engaged in the transportation of cargoes at sea may also be worth looking at. For our first topic, which is the definition and concept in the law, Section 2, a contract of insurance is an agreement whereby one undertakes for a consideration to identify another against loss, damage, or liability arising from an unknown or contingent event. In the essential elements of an insurance contract are first, we have the insurable interest, B is existing of risk, and next is the assumption of such risk by the insurer. Next is the said assumption being part of the general scheme to distribute actual losses among those bearing similar risks. And next is the payment of premium. We have also the characteristics of an insurance contract are we have the alliator contract of indemnity, numerous, bilateral, formal, insurer, insured, and the beneficiary. The insurer, insured, and beneficiary are the parties in the insurance contracts. And we have also the insurance contracts that may refer to the life insurance, fire insurance, marine insurance, and personal accident insurance. An insurance contract is considered as a contract of adhesion in which almost of the provisions have been drafted only by one party, usually the insurance company. The only participation of the other party is the signing of his signature or his accession. In this regard, such contracts are to be construed liberally in favor of the insured and strictly against the insurer in resolving all investigations against the latter. And now let's proceed to our next topic, which is the insurable interest. In section 10, every person has an insurable interest in the life and health. In B, of any person on whom he depends wholly or in part of education or support, or in whom he has pecuniary interest. C is of any person under a legal obligation to him for the payment of money or respecting property or services, of which death or illness might delay to prevent the performance. And in the section 13, every interest is for 30. whether real or personal, or any relation thereto, or liability in respect thereof, of such nature that a contemplated peril might directly indemnify the insured, is an insurable interest. In Section 14, an insurable interest in property may consist in A. The unexisting interest. B. Is inchoate interest funded in the existing interest. And C is the an expectancy coupled with an existing interest that are out of which the expectancy arises. And for this Section 15, a creator or depository of any kind has an insurable interest in a thing held by him as such, to the extent of his liability but not exceed the value thereof. An insurance interest in that relationship may with a person or a thing that will support the issuance of an insurance policy. A person is usually regarded as having an insurable interest in the subject matter insured when he will derive pecuniary benefit or advantage from its preservation, or will suffer pecuniary loss or damage from its destruction. Insurable interest in property should exist not only in the date of execution of the contract of insurance but on the date of the occurrence of the risk insured against. On the other hand, insurable interest in the life and health of the person insured must exist when the insurance takes effect, but need not exist thereafter or when the loss occurs. And now let's proceed to our next topic, which is the beneficiaries. In Section 8, no contract or policy of insurance on property shall be enforceable except for the benefit of some person having an insurable interest in the property insured. In Section 9, an interest in property insured must exist when the insurance takes effect and when the loss occurs, but need to exist in the meantime, and interest in the life or health of a person insured must exist when the insurance takes effect, but need to not exist thereafter or when the loss occurs. A person cannot lawfully procure insurance of the life of another in whose life he has no insurable interest. Hence, the assured must have an interest to preserve the life of the insured in spite of the insurance. In order that one may have an insurable interest in the life of another, it must be one of those mentioned in Section 10 of the Insurance Code. This holds true where the employer who is titular or named insured obtains insurance on the life and health of the employee. With respect to the insurance on property, it is imperative that the beneficiary is a person having an insurable interest in the property insured. However, an interest in property insured must exist when the insurance takes effect and when the loss occurs. On the other hand, interest in the life or health of a person insured must exist when the insurance takes effect, but need not exist thereafter or when the loss occurs. And for our next topic is the fire, marine, and the third-party liability insurance. Marine insurance, Section 9. Marine insurance includes insurance against loss of or damage to vessel, craft, aircraft, vehicles, goods, freight, cargoes, merchandise, effects, disbursement, profit, money, securities, choose inaction, evidence of debt, valuable papers, bottomry, and prepondential interest, and all other kinds of property and interest therein, in respect to the appertaining to or in the connection with the any and all risk of perils of navigation, transit, or transportation, or while being assembled, packed, created, built, or compressed, or similar prepared for shipment, or while awaiting shipment, or during any delay, storage, transshipment or resettlement incident thereto, including war risk, marine builders risk, and all personal property floater risks. B. Person or property in connection with or appertaining to the marine, inland, marine, transit, or transportation insurance, including liability for loss or damage arising out of the connection with the construction, repair, operation, maintenance, or use of the subject matter of such insurance, but not including life insurance or surely bonds, nor insurance against loss by reason of bodily injury to any person arising out of the ownership, maintenance, or use automobiles. And C. Precious stones like jewelry, precious metals, whether in a course of transportation or otherwise. And D is for bridges, tunnels, and other instrumentalities of transportation and communication, excluding building, their furniture, and furnishing fixed content and supplies held in storage. Here, barges, docks, and slips and other aids to navigation and transportation, including dry docks and marine railways, dams, and appurtenant facilities for the control waterways. And for the number 2, the marine protection and indemnity insurance, meaning insurance against legal liability of the insured for loss, damage, or expense incident to ownership, operation, chartering, maintenance, use, repair, or construction of any vessel, craft, or instrumentality in use in ocean, inland waterways, including liability or the insured for personal injury, in illness or death or loss of for or damage to the property of other person. The perils of the sea or the perils of the navigation includes only the casualties due to the unusual violence or extraordinary action to wind and wave, to other extraordinary causes and connected with the navigation, a loss which in the ordinary courses of events from the natural and inevitable action of the sea, from the ordinary wear and tear of the ship, the negligent failure of the ship owner to provide a vessel with proper equipment to convey the cargo under ordinary conditions. It is not peril of the sea, such as loss is rather due to what is called as perils of the ship. In such case, the insurer does not undertake to insure against perils of the ship. And for our next topic, which is the fire insurance. In section 167, as used in this code, the term fire insurance shall include insurance against loss by fire, lightning, windstorm, tornado, or earthquake, other allied risk when such risk are covered by extension of fire insurance policy or under separate policies. Fire insurance is essentially a contract of indemnity, and fire insurance only a hostile and not friendly fire insured against. Under an open policy, the measure of indemnity is the actual loss sustained and the burden upon the insured to establish the amount of such loss. Under a valued policy of fire insurance, the valuation in the policy is conclusive between the parties. And for our next topic, which is the compulsory motor vehicle liability insurance. In section 7.3, for purposes of this chapter, is the motor vehicle. Is any vehicle or as defined in section 3, paragraph A of Republic Act numbered 4136, otherwise known as the Land Transportation and Traffic Code, as amended by PD 1455. And a B passenger is any fare-paying person being transported and conveyed in and by a motor vehicle for the transportation of passengers for compensation, including persons expressly authorized by law, the vehicle operator of his agent to ride without fare, as amended by PD 1455. And C is the third party. Is any person other than a passenger as defined in this section and shall also exclude a member of the household or a member of the family within the second degree of consanguinity of affinity of the motor vehicle owner or land transportation operator as likewise defined herein, or his employee is respect to death or bodily injury arising out of and in the course of employee as amended by PD 1814. And for the D, the land transportation operator means the owner or the owners of the motor vehicles for the transportation or passenger for compensation, including school buses, as amended by PD 1455. And E, for the insurance or the policy, refers to the contract of the insurance against passenger and third-party liability for death and bodily injuries arising from other motor vehicle accidents as amended by PD 1814. Section 374, it shall be unlawful for any land transportation operator to operate the same in the public highways unless there is enforced in relation thereto a policy of insurance or guarantee in cash or surety bond issued in accordance with the provisions of this chapter to indemnify the death, body injury, and or damage to property of a third party or passenger as the case may be arising from the thereof, as amended by PD number 1455. Section 377. Every transportation operator and every owner of a motor vehicle shall, before applying for the registration or renewal or registration of any motor vehicle, at his option, either secure an insurance policy or surety bond issued by an insurance company authorized by the commissioner or make a cash deposit in such amount as herein required as a limit liability for purposes specified in this section 374. Before applying for registration of a motor vehicle, the land transportation operator or owner must secure a compulsory motor vehicle liability insurance, also known as the third-party liability insurance or the TPL, accredited by the insurance commissioner. And for our last topic, which is the war risk insurance. War risk insurance is the insurance covering damage caused by acts of war. It includes coverage for war, hijacking, and related perils. Insurers have intended to withdraw liability coverage for weapons of mass destruction or the WMD. A subset of war risk insurance WMD includes the radioactive contamination or dirty bombs, the electromagnetic pulse devices, and the chemical or the biological weapons. Coverage was subsequently provided at the full policy limits for passenger liability but limited to the maximum of $50 or $50 million for all the third-party injury and property damages. Some countries like the United States of America provide coverage while others do not. The International Air Transportation Association or the IATA has argued that airlines in countries that do not provide coverage are at the competitive disadvantage. Under the Federal Aviation Administration program, insurance coverage for passenger and the third-party liabilities for U.S. airlines is approximately $0.70 per passenger compared to almost $3 outside of the US. ITA policy in most jurisdictions, including the European Union or the EU, airlines are required by the law to have a liability insurance, including coverage for WMDs. Aircraft lease agreements also require covering of war risk insurance since the use of WMDs is directed against states. The ultimate responsibility for security of citizens rests in the states. And that's all from our report. And again, I'm Criscia, Autentico, and thank you for listening. Good day!